So I'm sitting here thinking about the fact that I'm about to ask a kidless person how they would handle different single-parent situations. Hey everybody, Anthony here. Welcome back to another episode of the Single Parents Podcast. This is the podcast for anybody whose life may have turned out a little less than traditional. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, you can see I'm not at my usual home setup in my living room. I'm actually out of town visiting family, hanging out with my parents and my siblings, and just enjoying a nice little weekend getaway. My kids, they're actually out running around with their grandma and their aunt at like a pumpkin patch or something like that. I don't know, probably getting spoiled or something like that. But I just figured while they're off living their best life, I had a little time with some peace and quiet, that I could bust out the old podcast equipment. I might do something a little different, a little fun for the show today. And that is to bring on a special guest, that guest being my little sister, Meranda, who's been on the podcast before, and she's awesome. She's legit. But she's also kidless and very far from being a single parent, very far from being an SP. So I was like, well, you know what? Let me see how she, being somebody without kids, without a lot of those responsibilities and pressures that comes with that, how she would handle some very real world situations that many of us SPs have to go through on a regular basis. How would she respond to some of these things? What was her perspective on some of these things? These things I'm about to ask her how she would navigate. I didn't share these things with her beforehand. I just off the bat, I just wanted to see how she would work through some of these big scenarios. So we're going to bring her in just a second and have her respond to some of these things as a strong, independent business owner woman without little ones of her own. But before we do, a few things I'd actually ask you to do. The first thing that would be pretty cool, if you'd be down to do so, is maybe consider subscribing to the podcast, making sure you've turned on automatic downloads, done all the things so you never miss an episode in the future. Second thing you could do, if you feel you're feeling generous and feeling good about the show in general, is maybe consider sharing the podcast with a friend, with a family member, maybe a sibling of your own. That would be pretty legit, because then it just helps build the voices on the show, builds the community, and we can just keep getting different perspectives, like my sister's, on the show every single week. And then last but not least, maybe consider rating the podcast 5 stars, highest rating possible on your favorite podcast hosting platform, because what that'll do is it'll just tell those old algorithms out there that the show is legit. And then that'll also pass it along to more people. So I think I'm done yapping. I think I'm good. I said all the things. So let's bring Meranda in here and see how she would handle some of these very interesting things. All right. And so we are here. And by we, I mean me and my sister, Meranda. Hi. She's back again. Last time she was on the show, it was during the Taylor Swift party episode.
February, so it's been a while.
It's been a hot minute. That was a good time. That was a good episode. You guys can go check that episode out if you haven't listened to it or watched it already. But we're not here to talk about Taylor Swift. We're not here to talk about parties or good times. We are here to get into some scenarios. So, Meranda, what's going to happen is I'm just going to give you 3 situations, right, that maybe single parents find themselves in on a pretty regular basis. And then you, being somebody who's not even just a single parent, but not a parent in general, you're going to kind of just tell the audience, tell the show how you would handle and navigate and work your way through these situations to completion. How do you feel before we drop the bombs?
I mean, I don't know. We'll see how I answer these.
We'll see. Yeah. Maybe, hopefully, by your
Short answers.
maybe by your answers, you'll help some parents out there who find themselves in these situations.
I just don't see because I don't have kids. So,
well, it's all about perspective, right? It's all about point of view. So maybe you're gonna give some point of view to where somebody's gonna go through this next month, next year, next 10 years, and be like, I remember that episode of the SPP where Miranda gave some juicy tips. And you're gonna save a life.
Okay.
You're like a firefighter or a paramedic.
It.
You're gonna save a life out there. So you ready to get into that good?
Sure. What are my scenarios?
All right, let's get to it. Uh-oh. Looks like you have a very important meeting on the books with your boss. It's been on the calendar for a few weeks now, but you are about 15 minutes away from making that meeting happen when all of a sudden your phone goes off and it's the school of your child, the school nurse to be exact, and she tells you your child is puking, fever, feels like absolute trash. You need to come pick up your kid ASAP. But oh dear, the school is about a good 10-minute drive away. I have to get there, get my kid, check them out, drive all the way back to wherever I got to take them. I don't have enough time to do all that before my meeting with my boss, the big meeting with my boss in 15 minutes. Miranda, you find yourself in this situation. What do you do?
Well, so am I answering this as myself or as if that was the situation?
How you yourself would handle the situation.
But
You're a single mom.
Okay, but I own my own business, right? So I am my own boss.
That's true. Okay.
I want to go to the meeting that I set with myself. I just won't go to the meeting.
Fair, but so in this hypothetical, you do work a traditional 9 to 5.
Okay, I'm on the 9 to 5
You're
clock.
on the clock.
Grind.
You're a corporate girlie, and you have your big quarterly meeting with your supervisor coming up. What do you do?
Well, I guess first I would see if the grandparents are available. I guess come pick up the kid for me.
Okay, that's a scenario. That's an option.
But if not, I would hope that my job would understand. But also, why is my kid going to school sick anyway?
Hey, you know what? You thought maybe that before school they were fine, that maybe they were complaining a little bit, but they always do that, especially on a Thursday. They're over going to school. They have a test. You're just like, you know what? You're good. You're fine. But lo and behold, they weren't bluffing. It was one of those boy who cried wolf situations where this time they were actually sick when they tried to tell you, but they lied too many times before that you just kind of brushed it off. You just sent them to school. So the couple options you gave. One, try to reach out to the grandparents or...
Yeah, family. Somebody could get them for me while I go to the meeting.
Okay.
But if not, I'm just not going to the meeting, I guess, or I'll be late.
So you would just... Okay, so you have the situation, say... your grandparent or your friend or your family member, you try reaching out, they don't answer. Because again, you got 15 minutes. They're just not picking up. Who knows what's going on? So you're like, oh dear, I have to talk to my boss about the fact that I'm either going to be late to this meeting or I need to reschedule this meeting. How is that for you, having those type of, not confrontation, but those like high stress conversations with people? Does that bother you?
Well, I mean... I don't know, because I work by myself, so I guess it's just harder for me for this scenario because, I mean, I would hope, like I said, if I had a job like that my boss would be a little bit more understanding and flexible and know that I have a kid and that they would understand. And plus, there's so much technology. I could just zoom in, right, and just
that's an option.
Mute my face or mute myself so you don't have to hear my kid throwing up in the background. But I feel like there's so many other ways now that you can be a part of a meeting. Like, you don't have to be physically there. Like, what's the point?
All right. Well, hopefully your boss is old school and be like, no, in my day, we have meetings in person, not over Skype.
Then sounds like a good job anyway. I don't want to work for you.
All right. So let's just pretend. Let's pretend that you have to get up from your cubicle or your desk.
Ooh, yikes.
I'll be the boss. I'll be Mr. Johnson. all right, I got the books and the reports and the budgets and blah, 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 blah. And you got to walk to my office and you got to
Okay.
tell me, hey, knock, knock, knock. Hey, Mr. Johnson, I know we had a meeting, a 2 o'clock, not 2, school might be almost out by then.
Yeah, they could just hang out in the nurse's office at that point.
A 12:30 meeting on the books. But this situation came up. So let's role play. I'm Mr. Johnson. I'm at my desk, crunching the numbers, going over the expense reports, and you knock on my door. Go ahead.
Expense reports. Knock, knock.
Yeah. What's up, Miranda? How's it going on? I'm just finalizing these numbers. Our meeting's not till 12:30, right? You're a little early. What's going on?
Yeah, I gotta go. My kid's sick and they need to be picked up. And
Your
nobody
kid's
else-
sick. You gotta go. No, this is unacceptable. We need to go over the Ferguson account at 12:30 sharp. What's going on? This is crazy.
Well, too bad. I'll use my sick time. The sick time I've accumulated working for you.
You know, I just need people who are team players. This is ridiculous. Sick time. Didn't you use sick time last week?
I know that was you, Mr. Johnson.
Oh, well, I had a hernia, so I had to. But that's because I built this company on my back in 1943, delivering newspapers in the snow, and then I turned it into this media empire. I guess that's where we work now. And
Yep.
I just need everybody, all hands on deck. This is all hands on deck.
Yep.
So you're not going to be there.
I'll have someone take notes.
So, okay. Well, this just I just don't think this is. I don't know, Miranda. This is just unheard of. Nobody else has ever said this to me before. Everybody has been at the meetings on time. What's going on?
Gotta go. You gotta go. By the time we're sitting here talking about this, I could have got my kid and been back.
Okay. You know what, Miranda? I like your gumbo. I like your moxie kid. You know, it took a lot of guts to come in here and talk to me. Maybe nobody has talked to me like this before because nobody has had the courage to stand up to me. But leaders like you who are not afraid to say what's up, that's the people I'm looking for to run this company in the future.
Oh, great. So I get a raise.
Yes. You know what? Go get your kid. Bring them to wherever they need to go. Actually, the kid can have my office. We'll quarantine the kid in there.
Nice.
I'm promoting you to senior vice president of the country.
And a promotion.
The country, yes.
I'll take
I'm
it.
also the president. of the
and
United
the
States.
country.
Yes. I forgot to mention I'm the president.
Never mind. I don't want that job.
Oh, okay. All right. Well. Cool. Well, okay. You handled it pretty well. Good. Nice. How do you feel? Do you feel empowered?
No, I still feel like I want to quit. That was too much.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Mr. Johnson needs a coup. We need to get him out.
Got to vote him out. Now that you're a senior vice president, you can tell the other board
Yeah,
members.
that's true. Yeah. What's that show called? What's that show called where it's like the family business?
Oh,
and they're-
secession.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. Yeah. Okay. So you handle that pretty well, but on all joking aside, that is a very serious, sometimes serious, but a very real situation a lot of single parents find themselves in is the tension of having to be in two places at the same time, really, because we have stuff our kids really need us to do, but we have to work. And for some single parents out there, I know, again, we're kind of joking around, but they just don't always have the option just to quit their job or say, forget this, I'm leaving, because as we'll talk more about in the episode, sometimes when it comes to money, you just got to do what you got to do to put food on the table. So just interesting. Sometimes we have to almost feel like we wish there was multiple versions of us to do all the things that need to be done sometimes. But I'm sure that's for a lot of people, not even just single parents. I think it'd be helpful in general for a lot of us and as just people if we have duplicates of ourselves, clones running around. Robots, yeah. The future. Uh-oh. Looks like you found yourself in love.
Okay, well, that's very...
Yeah, you're like already unbelievable.
That's definitely in
this
the
is
dream.
already a fictional story. But you found yourself smitten over the perfect man in your case. He has everything. Bucket list, checklist, all the lists, grocery list, laundry list, all the lists. He's checked off every single box. You were like, man, this is the guy I've been waiting for. Disney has based all their love stories off of my romance with this guy. I wished upon a star, and this is the guy who the universe has brought me. This is it. But again, context, you're a single mom. One of the
I
show.
still have
So
these
you still
kids.
have this sick kid that you just picked up from school. The
Same
kid's
kids.
better. Same
Jeez,
kids.
Johnny.
Johnny's better now. He's healed. And now you guys, you're the senior vice president of the country, and you're making money. You fell in love with this foreign diplomat, Jean-Claude. And Jean-Claude, he's all
French.
good. He's French. He's the whole package, except for the fact that he has come to you one night at dinner. It's just you two. Johnny's at his dad's house. And he says to you, Miranda, Maria. I'm trying to do a French accent.
That's like a
I'm trying to do a
what's
French
that, Canadian?
accent. Oh, mon chéri, Miranda, my love, my amour.
That sounds like Creole.
I'm trying. Basically, he says, I love you. I cherish you. I want to be with you. Except maybe we can just spend time together and be together and form a relationship together during the times when you don't have your kid, Johnny. Because I like you.
Right now?
I like you, but I don't necessarily want to be around when Johnny's around. I'm not looking to be a
He
stepdad.
wants to be what's that called, a booty call?
Sure, if that's what you're gonna say. He basically is saying, like, I like you, but I don't necessarily want to be around when your kid's around. So you hear that. Obviously, proud mother, not ashamed mother. You love your kid, Johnny. But you see this guy who you're like, oh, I thought we were going to form a relationship, a lifetime bond with. But you're telling me you only want the part of me that doesn't come with my son. What's your response to old
I
Jean-Claude?
guess that's their last dinner, isn't it?
Oh,
He has
you're
to
done.
pay.
You're just done, huh?
Well, it's just why. Obviously, if he doesn't like my kid, why
Okay.
would you don't like me that much then either?
Ooh, boom. There's the clip that we're putting on TikTok.
No,
That's
like I
good.
understand if you want like every once in a while, just like one-on-one time. But if you just don't want the kid, that's an important part. Like that's part of you is your
Yeah.
child, right? I don't know. I
Yeah.
would think so.
Yeah.
You grew
you
it.
think so. You would think if we talked about this on the show before, but dating people as a single parent, you would think that well, I guess I'll ask you this because we talked about, again, some of this stuff on the show before, but your perspective. So let's, again, hypothetical, you're a single mom and you're putting yourself out there. How soon into dating people or a person do you want them to know that you also come with little ones? Is that something you would bring up right away?
Oh, no. I mean, okay. Well, can I switch it just to answer as like my perspective?
Oh, sure.
So if someone,
Okay. Yeah, that's yeah. What would
like
you
as
want?
the
That's a
single
good point,
person
yeah.
with no kids dating, I feel like that's something I would like to know just up front, just because I feel like that's like an important thing. So you don't want to hide that. I mean,
Yeah.
because if anything, I feel like if you waited that long, like weeks or however many dates to tell me that you had a kid, I would be more put off by that because I feel like you're trying to be sneaky with something instead of just being upfront and being like, I'd be suspicious of that versus if you just said, oh yeah, and by the way, I have a kid. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. What's your kid's name? How old are they? Give me.
That's cool because I think Steph and I talked about this before, but we did it through. I remember now we did it through the context of like Love Is Blind, where
Like the show?
The show, yeah. So they're sharing all this stuff about people, and we were just like, oh, if you or I were on that show, how long into those conversations do you bring up, I am a single mom or I am a single dad? And for you would, I guess, it's an interesting perspective. Like you being on the opposite side of it, you would rather them do it sooner than later.
Yeah, I would prefer it just because I think that is just like a big, huge part of your life. So yeah, I would just think, why did it take you so long? Like, what are you trying to hide? Like, yeah, that would just, I don't know, like I don't know what the kids call it, a beige flag. Like it would be a red flag, but it'd be a beige. Like it's like I'm kind of hesitant on that versus if you just put your cards on the table and just tell me up front, and then that way I can.
You can decide for yourself. Yeah, you can assess for yourself. But in this situation, though, so you are the single parent. If you heard Jean-Claude say that to you, you'd be like, you know what, we're done because it sounds like you.
Wait, who's ending it? Jean-Claude or me?
Well, Jean-Claude wants to continue. He just doesn't want to be around your kid.
Well, that's his fault. That's his problem.
He's fine hanging out with you. And I asked this question because I've had this happen before. I think I shared
What,
this in the
really?
story. It wasn't like a long-term relationship. It was like first or second date. And I'm very, obviously, it's my whole brand. I'm a single dad, so social media
Wait, you
also
are?
helps with that. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if have I
Yeah, you
made
have
that
kids.
obvious to people.
I'm an aunt.
I don't know if I've made that clear enough. Oops. Well, surprise, you're an
Wow, okay.
aunt. Congratulations. But yeah, but I think social media also helps with that because like everybody stalks the person they're dating
Yeah.
before on
Unless their account's
Instagrams or
private.
Facebook or something like
But see, that's what I'm saying. If your account's private and you don't tell me up front, then it's like, well, what's why are you so secretive about this? Like,
interesting. But I went out with this
suspicious.
girl who that's obvious to know I'm a single dad. She knew, and it's the first date, getting sushi. And basically, she said almost the exact words that Jean-Claude said. She was just like, yeah, so after this date, I really like you. I think it's cool, but...
Did she
like,
have kids?
No.
Oh.
She was like, I just want to hang out when... And, like, I kind of, I guess, got it... I guess to give the context. If she would have been like, hey, this is only the first date. I just want to keep getting to know you before I be around your kids, so please don't assume, like, next week... we're all four gonna hang out. I would have been like,
that makes sense.
I didn't even want that. Like, we're not even doing that. So like if that's how she presented it, I would have been cool. I get it. But that's not how she presented it. It's not what she was saying. She was basically doing what Jean-Claude did. And it was like,
I have no interest in your
Yes.
kids. I just have interest in you.
yeah, I don't even ever want, and I was just like, well, then you're just not my person. Like, I guess, like, if I just wanted to hang out with her and have fun, like, sure. But, like, as far as, like, my person, you're not her, because my person's going to, like you said, know that a big chunk of who I am is a dad and is all these other things that comes with being a dad. So, like, my person is going to know that and be cool with that, and maybe even vice versa. If she has kids, like, we're going to work together to navigate that. It's not saying it's going to be easy, but my person's not going to say, like, hey, that big chunk of you that's part of your reality, can we just pretend like that doesn't exist for the sake of us hanging out? And then you basically live two lives, blah, blah, and all this stuff. So...
Yeah,
that was
hard pass. I mean, yeah, but like you were saying, like, I understand if it's just like beginning. Like, I wouldn't want to meet someone's kid until I knew whoever I was with was serious, because I don't know, I just wouldn't want to be just someone in and out of someone's life.
Yeah,
kid or not, I guess.
That's fair.
Even like their family, I wouldn't want to
meet
their family until I
Yeah.
feel like it's actually worth meeting their family.
Yeah. One of my friends, she's a single mom, but has like a 6-month rule.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, how do you feel about all those rules? Because how people be like hard. Like, do you think it should be just determined on like just like the feel and the flow of how it's going? Because I feel like I've known some people where it's like, no, I have like, it has to be 3 months of this, and then at a year it needs to be this. But I'm like, well, then do you really even like, I don't know, do you even like that person that much if you're doing like the hard set, like at 3 months we're doing this, and at 6 months it's this, and at a year, like, because I feel like if you are in a relationship and you like them, then you just let it go naturally.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I agree. Like, I think having those rules, I wouldn't say rules, I say boundaries. I think if you treat it like a boundary, it's better, because if your boundary is I'm walking into this with the boundary that you're not meeting my kids, you're not meeting my family, you're not doing all these things until we at least work through some of the, and if you have to set that boundary by giving like a 6-month date, then I guess that makes sense, because you're basically telling yourself and making the expectation known, like, hey, this is a boundary, a standard I have, and this is what I'm working to. But to make it a hard and set rule that, like, even if it's the best relationship ever, oh, well, we haven't hit 6 months yet, so we just need to, like, for the sake of saying we hit 6 months before we do. Like, no, I don't think that's kind of dumb, because then you're right, it's not natural, and relationships have just the flow to it. But I think if you have the boundaries and make those expectations known, then I think it'll help the pacing of it in the relationship, because then both parties know, like,
so you would tell them that you have a whatever month rule, or would you just on your own just have that and you kind of pace it?
I think I would tell them, not so much to let them know that's what needs to happen, but to like make the expectations super, super clear that like I do want to wait a good amount of time, not a certain amount of time, a good amount of time before we do, like, say, meeting of the kids. And so I wouldn't say 6 months. I don't know what I would say. I would just make it sound like, I would just make it very, very clear that these are my boundaries and this is what I'm working towards. And maybe say like, but like, we'll just figure it out. We'll see how it goes. But I would say that making sure they understood that just because we'll see how it goes doesn't mean it's going to probably be something where I was expecting 6 months and then it turns into 2 weeks. Like, I'm not saying it can't, but probably not. So don't put all this pressure into the relationship thinking that it's going to turn out to be something when I just want to try to keep these boundaries going, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about you? How I know with not with kids, but just like with your own boundaries and stuff like that. Would you communicate that pretty early?
I don't know. Like, I think I have the not expectations, but like you're saying, like my pace in my head, but I don't know if I ever vocalized that. Cause I guess when I hear it, it makes me kind of feel like I'm on like a timeline, and like that's just like you've done this so many times, and so here's my calendar, and so let's see if you stick around to make it that far. That's what it makes me feel like. So like I guess I would just rather not know. If you just say, oh well, like just using kids as an example, like if they have kids, like if they just said, well, I just would prefer to wait until we see where this goes before I consider, but not being like, well, it has to be like at 6 months, then you know, you can meet them, but just more of like, just give me like a general, like, this is kind of, you know, what I prefer, and then I'll respect that, like, okay, cool, we'll revisit it, you know, see if we're still talking and how you feel about that. But when I hear like the hard dates, it's kind of like, well, I guess you've written this out somewhere and you've done it how many times, I guess, that, you know, like at this time it's this and this time it's this and at this, and if they don't do it at this time, then you better dump them. But it's like, well, different people have different paces of going at stuff. Like I feel like I like to take my time with things. So just because other people say, well, if they haven't done it by week 3, then you might as well just, but it's like, well, some people just, some people are faster. I don't know if I would probably be with someone faster because I like to take my time and feel things out. But I just feel like having those hard, I mean, like not even talking about kids, but I'm sure you've seen it on like TikTok and all those type of things, those dating things where you have like the 3-week rule and all that kind of stuff, or by date 3, if you're not this, then but I don't know.
I agree. But in the John Claude's case,
he's out. Claude, he's gone. Oh yeah, he's already gone. I'm back on the airplane back to the States.
So you're back to
he's paying for it first class, wasting my time.
Oh, Jean Claude, you fumbled, dude. You fumbled.
Should have known those diplomats.
It's always the diplomats. Looks like the company that you were running, president of the country,
Mr. Johnson,
he fumbled the whole corporation. It went under.
I knew he was shady.
It went bankrupt. So now you're not running that. You're just working another entry-level 9-to-5 job. It pays the bills, but you're living paycheck to paycheck. Money is tight. Little Johnny, he's growing up.
Jeez, Johnny.
Needs stuff at school, needs stuff for sports. So you're making it, but it's very, very, very tight when it comes to money and finances. One day, though, you wake up, you go to the kitchen, and you see your refrigerator is broken.
This kid.
And
never mind.
No, not the kid. This wasn't the kid. It was just
he left the door open. I was going to say, how many times did I have to tell him?
Your old refrigerator. And you need to figure out how you're going to get it fixed financially. You get the quote to have somebody come fix it. And it's the exact amount of money you have left in your bank.
Okay.
But that money in your bank was supposed to go to paying your phone bill, which is due tomorrow. And if you don't pay it, they're turning off your cell phone service. So you're here with a broken fridge or your phone service is getting shut off tomorrow and you don't get paid for like another week.
Okay.
What do you do?
Well, I feel like I'm pretty, like, not crafty, but I'd probably just get a bunch of ice chests and put my food with bags of ice and hold me off until I can, because I feel like the phone's more important because you need your phone.
Especially the kid, because if the school nurse calls you
But
again.
the food, like, there's dry food and whatever. Some stuff doesn't even need to go in the fridge.
Okay.
So, yeah, just,
So you would
borrow
just
some ice chests and
figure it out until you...
MacGyver it.
You would have to figure it out. Okay. I asked that question again, real world circumstance, because that happened to me over the summer. Slowly, my fridge went out. And I just noticed one day I would put bags of ice in the freezer and slowly they would just start to melt. And I'm like, what's going on? And then one day I open up the fridge and the milk I had in there is all gross and moldy. And I'm like, I think our fridge is broken. Thankfully, I rent at the place I'm at now. So all I had to do was tell my landlord, like, hey, like, come replace the fridge. But it took a little while. So it's funny that you mentioned the coolers, because in the meantime, I went on like Facebook Marketplace and bought like a little mini fridge for like $20.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
And I told the girls, I was like, look, this is the only fridge we're going to have for a little bit until our new fridge comes in. So like we put milk, juice, maybe some like...
You wasted fridge space on juice?
Well, yeah, they like their juice. They like their apple juice and eggs, and I think that was mostly all we really could fit. So, like, for a while, no, it wasn't for a long time, but for like a while, we'd be like, okay, let's get some like chicken nuggets. And like, oh, we can't fit that in the fridge. Or ice cream. I was like, you can get like a popsicle, but we can't get big things of ice cream because they don't fit in the fridge. So we made it work, and then now we like last week got our new fridge in, and it's like, oh my god.
Wait, you haven't had a fridge since when?
It's been a few weeks.
Oh, okay, a few weeks.
Yeah. We made it work though, and now the girls, I gave them the mini fridge, and they have it.
Oh,
in their
nice!
room,
Yeah,
so
see, it all worked out.
It worked out, but so that I asked that because for me, like again, I just talked to my landlord, but being a single parent, kind of going back to the first question of like, hey, sometimes I wish there was multiple of me, because when it comes to money, if you're the only adult in the house, you only have single parent income. So things get very, very tight to where you would love to save up and have emergency funds and all these things people say you need to have. Sure, in an ideal, perfect world. But if I'm working a job where it just pays the bills, paycheck to paycheck, sometimes stuff's going to come up to where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this until my next paycheck. Even when I get my next paycheck, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to take care of this. And so it's a real situation that a lot of single parents have to navigate. So you were just saying, like, if you were in that situation or a similar situation, you would just do what you got to do to figure it out.
And plus, like you were saying with Facebook Marketplace and all that junk, there's so many, like you could get like a cheap fridge that somebody's just getting rid of for probably cheaper than it would be to fix it.
Yeah.
So, or somebody's probably giving one away because people do house renovations and they have like their old, 1990s fridge.
Yeah.
So, like, I think, you just have to get creative with it. But I'd pay my phone bill first and then I'd figure out my fridge.
It's just, that's a good, prioritize. Like, okay, what do I need to pay? And then what else can I like? But I think the temptation that comes in that kind of makes some of that harder is like you really have to like humble yourself, whether you're a single parent or maybe even just like a younger person just figuring stuff out, or maybe just an adult in general, depends. Like this falls for a lot of people, the temptation of like, oh, well, I look at Instagram or social media and I see all these other people buying new fridges and getting new cars.
But half the time it's not even their stuff.
Right?
Half the time they probably just went into a model home and took some pictures.
And like, oh, look what I got. Or I've just been reading a lot of stuff of like how many people are like actually like in like huge amounts of debt.
That doesn't surprise me either, because they think they have to keep up with something.
Exactly. I don't remember what context I was reading, but they were just like, oh yeah, it's common. People have like $30,000-$40,000 of debt, and I'm like me with like my couple of thousand credit card bills I'm still paying off, thinking I'm like, oh, I'm the worst person. I have like $2,000 in credit cards, and people are living like $40,000 in debt.
Crazy.
I'm like, But that's like the norm. Like that's not even like a weird thing anymore. You're right.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I mean, even now, like I still I think prioritize things that
Yeah.
I like. I mean, obviously I have kids, so I don't have
Right.
to put money towards, keeping them alive. But like there's things that I enjoy doing, but
Okay.
obviously like, I make what I make.
Yeah.
So instead of having like my phone, like I have like a old iPhone, but my phone bill is cheap because but it works and it takes calls and takes pictures, and that's
what you
really
need.
all I
Yeah.
need. And same with my car. My car's
Yeah.
whatever, like it gets me from point A to point B. It doesn't have heated seats or anything, but
Right.
I like my car. But then I also, with the money that I save from, just driving my car and keeping my old phone,
Yeah.
I put it towards things that I actually do enjoy doing or something that I do want.
Yeah.
But but that's just me as a single person. Obviously, when you have kids, it's a different type of responsibility,
Yeah,
and
it
your
is
money has to
extra-
go to different places.
Extra pressure. You kind of like roll your eyes when you get a message from the school saying the school book fair is next
Oh
week.
boy, not
and
the book
Your
fair.
kids are coming saying, "Can I have money for the book fair? Can I have money?" And you're just like, "Oh," or sports. If your kids are in
Sports
sports,
are
it gets
expensive.
expensive. Or like it's stuff just breaks or sickness or even if you get sick, like there's a big thing with living like that to where you sometimes have to tell yourself like, hey, like I literally cannot afford to get sick. Like I know sometimes people say that, but like no, I literally can't, because if I don't have like pay time off and I have to take time off, like I can't pay my bills next week because I literally have to get all the hours I can just to keep afloat.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get that, not with kids, but with, like, because like I said in the beginning, I own my own business, so it's just me, and I don't have sick time or anything like that.
That's a
So
good
it's like
point,
when I take clients, I have my deadlines, and so like there's nobody else that can, pick that up for me. So like if I'm not the one working, it's not going to get done, or I'm not going to get that commission from the project that I'm working on. So it's like I have to do it, otherwise that month I'm not going to have any money. So like I don't get to rely on, so when I'm sick I still have to work.
Still got to do it.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But we figure it out. I think just figuring it out, doing the best you can, and I think just like you were saying, just being okay with not having the fanciest, flashiest stuff, and not being ashamed about that.
Yeah,
Just
who cares?
Like, who cares? Like, if you have a fridge,
Nobody
like you're
cares.
saying, go on Facebook, say your fridge does break and your landlord's not replacing it, and you're like, well, I would love, because my neighbors have the big fancy Home Depot fridges with the built-in UFOs and all this stuff like that. But I can't afford that, so all I can do is go on Facebook and buy this used one for $30-$50.
But you'd be surprised what people get rid of. Like I am a huge thrifter, so like pretty much all of the clothes I wear. Okay, not all, but like, say 90% of the clothes that I have are thrifted.
And they're nice.
But like I have like some pretty like name brand stuff because people just get rid of it and they just and I buy it for $5. So like you can buy really nice stuff. Like as long as you don't need it right now, you can eventually, I think, get nicer stuff for cheaper because everybody else is trying to upgrade their stuff. So you just swoop in and
that's a good point.
swoop in and take it.
Everybody is trying to keep up with somebody, so
so you just stay a little bit behind, and then you get the nicer stuff too because so everybody else can go into debt and you stay.
Hey, there you go. Boom. That's good. See, I told you you're gonna be dropping some good wisdom.
Stay cheap.
Stay cheap, people. Stay cheap. Avoid French diplomats.
Yeah, avoid those Frenchmen.
And call out your boss when they won't let you go pick up your kid because they might promote you or quit.
Unless, maybe not that one, but
yeah, now you're gonna
think about it. You can think about it on the drive to go get your kid.
There you go.
You'd want to quit.
Boom, 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 boom. All right. Well, those were the three big scenarios. I just wanted to throw a trying to be in two places at the same time situation at you, because that's something single parents have to deal with a lot. Relationship stuff and a money question. Those are the big three. So how do you feel? Do you feel like you achieved a lot through working through those situations?
Oh, I mean, hopefully little Johnny's still alive.
Little Johnny is alive. He's healthy.
Yeah, okay, good.
He survived the sickness. He's back at school. He has a fridge now. And
who's little Johnny's dad? That's what I want to know. Where's he at? How come I have him all the time?
Uh-oh.
Where come get your son?
Now you're sounding like a real single parent. Yeah, next time we'll talk about co-parenting, I guess. Well, thanks you for coming on the show.
Yep,
That's
thanks
going
for
to
having
get
me.
ready to wrap it up. I appreciate you all for tuning in. I don't really know what next episode's going to be about yet. I haven't figured that out. But you'll just have to make sure you're subscribed. Stay tuned, because you'll figure it out next week whenever it comes out. So just stay tuned on that. If you have anything you want to share, if any thoughts or opinions or questions or anything like that, get a hold of us through social DMs. But you can also use the email at singleparentspodcast@gmail.com. That's the singleparentspodcast@gmail.com. All right. Well, that's going to get ready to do it. I'm Anthony.
I'm Meranda.
Miranda. Oh, good job. Usually people make me say their names, but you're on it. You're on it. Let's do it again. Because that felt good. Until next time, I'm Anthony.
I'm Miranda.
Ooh, I like that. And until next time, you all out there,
stay beautiful.
bye.